Yeah. So good afternoon, all the participants. And today's topic is drafting in faceless assessment. So, but I request you all to put your hand on your heart for our institute motto first.
य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति य एष सुप्तेषु जाग्रति कामं 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 कामपुरुषो पुरुषो निर्विमाणः निर्विमाणः तदेव शुक्रं तदेव शुक्रदब्रह्मा तदब्रह्मा तदेवामृतमुच्यते तस्मिन् लोकः शतः सर्वे तदूनात्यपि कश्चन एतद्वैता 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 एतद्वैता
Thank you, Nidhi. So now, as we all aware that now all the assessments are faceless, and we can't sit in front of our assessing officer to describe, to elaborate the things, what is the case and why we want to why we want relief, or by how we can agree on them on our terms. But we have to, whatever have to do, we have to post, or we have to submit our documents and our reply on website only. So it should be clear, it should be self-explanatory, and how it can be and how we should draft that. So there, here today, the Ashita to guide us how we should draft our reply or our response to the notices, and how we can convince assessing officer that our uh, whatever we are submitting is correct, and they should make the order on basis of that. So thank you, Asita, to accept our invite to guide us on this matter. And thanks to our coordinator also, CA Vinal and CA Neha, to coordinate today's session and to take out their time for this program. So we don't want to take much of your time, Asita, because we want to hear you. So I request CA Vinal to formally introduce today's speaker, Asita. Please, CA Vinal. Over.
Good afternoon, everyone. So, welcome everyone for today's session, which will be conducted by C. Ashita Shah. So, let me just give a small introduction before starting the session. So, C. Ashita Shah is practicing chartered accountant from Mumbai. She has completed her BCom honors and she is a gold medalist in HSC from State Board. She practices in an area of direct taxes, audit, indirect tax, cooperative societies, trust, and company law. And her professional achievements are she delivered a lot of lectures on subject of taxation in CA study circles, budget sessions, and colleges. She contributed in publication issued by ESB, ICAI, New Delhi. She contributed for various articles on direct taxation in trade journals. She's a vice chairman of membership and public relations committee of Chamber of Tax Consultants. She's co-opted member for various committees of WIRC, ICI like CPE, CMIP, Students Committee, Direct Taxes, and WMEC. She is a special invitee for Ethical Standards Board Committee, ICI, New Delhi, in 2021-2022. She was convener for Chembur's CP Study Circle from 2017 to 2019 of WIRC ICI. And she's again expertise in extra curriculum also, and she won table tennis tournaments on all in Mumbai level in 2015, and she has done Bharatnatyam for 9 years. It's great, and achieved excellence. And she won yoga competition and badminton consecutively for years 2016, 17, 18, and 19, and inter competition, and it's like great. So the topic on which she will be speaking on today is drafting in faceless assessment. So welcoming Ashita ma'am, and please take over.
Thank you,
Thank
Pinky,
you.
ma'am. And thank you, Veenal, for the warm introduction. Uh, Good evening, everyone. Before we dive into the world of faceless assessments, let me take the opportunity to say that this space is about fostering collaboration and providing valuable insights without the pressure of physical presence. In today's session, we will be discussing how to effectively craft your responses in a faceless assessment, ensuring that your ideas and experiences are communicated clearly and powerfully. This is your opportunity to express yourself fully without the pressure of being seen. So let me share my PPT first. Is it visible, Vinal?
Yes, ma'am.
So a research has said that most of our women chartered accountant colleagues are either housewives or want to come back in profession after break for maternity or marriage or family issues. But technology has been changed a lot in last 5 years. Women cannot come back in profession due to their fear or non-availability to go out of their houses. For those who want to work from home, this new regime of faceless assessment will help them to work from home. Introduction to faceless regime can be the door for all women chartered accountants who want to work from home. Work from home can include filing of returns, drafting documents for faceless assessment, filing appeals, writing petition online due to faceless assessment. Today, we will see what is faceless assessment and drafting, which will pave path to help those who want to start their comeback in the profession. Initially, we used to highlight submissions, but post faceless assessments, income tax officers are of the view that you need not highlight. We are there to decide what is important and what is not. The whole concept of faceless assessments or appeals has really changed the way income tax laws would be practiced hereinafter. There was a time when people would rely upon ability to clarify the issue when called upon during the course of hearing by income tax officers or authority, and therefore they could get away with many things without giving information on papers. The communication skill that was expected was only by way of putting across your point at the time of personal hearing, and therefore you are not required to have a very high degree of professional competence, because it is always possible for you to put across your point. And so long as you are sure that your point has not gone home, you would have a chance of convincing the authority, because you are sitting across the authority, face to face, across the table, and therefore you know as to what is it that he is expecting from you. The faceless scheme, though it is initiated with a laudable objective of cutting the link between the SSC and revenue officers, for the reasons which are obvious, has created its own issues. You now have to be sure what is that you will write, how you will write. You need to be sure that you are able to communicate your thoughts and facts both concisely and effectively. You would not know where the officer is sitting. You would not know where he is from and what vernacular language he is aware of. So you will have to get them translated in any case. You will have to put up all the facts with local flavors in order to ensure that it gets home and you do not have privilege of really knowing whether he understood or not, whether he has accepted your contention or not. You will know the fact only in the final order. If we get into little historical background, then there is a long journey from email proceedings to e-proceedings on the income tax business application software platform. This is a platform created by the tax department to the e-assessment scheme and now to the change of name faceless assessment scheme. October 2015, CBDT took the first step towards paperless assessment. It introduced email-based assessment scheme on a pilot basis where it introduced in 5 different cities: Delhi, Mumbai, Bangalore, Ahmedabad, and Chennai, and extended in May 2016 to Kolkata and Hyderabad. So this was email-based communication. The objective was very clear: to improve the paper service, enhance efficiency, and usher in a paperless environment for assessment proceedings. And, and therefore, it was decided that to send notices, questionnaires to SSCs and getting responses from SSCs via email. And that was at that point of time decided to do only with a prior consent of the taxpayers and use email ID that was there in the return of income. Thereafter, in June 2015, there was a statutory amendment that came up by introduction of section 223C. This section is not there in the slide, but it is worth noting. 223C introduced in the act where they defined the term hearing. So plain English word, but it had to be defined as a definition under the act. And we were told how the definition says hearing includes communication of data and documentation through electronic mode. So can the department say that, no, see, look, the definition of hearing itself says that it includes communication of data and documents in electronic form. That is hearing, we are giving you a hearing. So the first step that they took at that time was, of course, to clarify the definition. CBDT made a new task force to create end-to-end assessment. It introduced pre-verification of mismatch before full-fledged scrutiny of hearing. There, the idea was to develop a database, do a pre-verification, and thereafter have a limited scrutiny or completed scrutiny order. It also at that point of time in June 16 revised the format of 143.2 notices, and there they had 3 formats: one for limited scrutiny, one for completed scrutiny, and one for compulsory manual scrutiny. Then came a little bit of change: migration from email-based communication to e-proceeding facilities. Now that e-proceeding facilities on the income tax business application software, and there the department wrote letters to the SSCs wherever the scrutinies were pending, that now your scrutiny will happen in a particular manner through income tax business application platform. And the SSC was given an opt-out option. That is, if you want to opt out, you may go for it. February 2018, statutory sanction was given by introduction of section 143 3A, 143 3B, and 143 3C in Finance Act 2018 to curl out a new scheme in faceless assessment and paperless assessment. This was the statutory sort of power given to CBDT to really introduce this faceless scheme or paperless schemes. In March 2018, CBDT revised format of 142 notices. Earlier it was 142, 143 2 notices, and now it was 142 1, enabling the taxpayers to respond electronically. And they also initiated SMS alert systems intimating the payers' information electronically, trying to become more digital and going away from paper regime to paperless regime and going away from physical hearings to paper-based or electronic media-based hearings. August 2018, CBDT mandates, now earlier it was opt-out, now it was mandating, now they are saying that all assesses during 2018 and 19 will happen, all assessments during 18-19 will happen under e-processing module, and there were some exceptions carved out like raid cases, set aside cases, then cases where there were no page numbers, cases where the stations did not have a proper bandwidth facilities, etc. And with the permission of Principal Commissioner, this was pulled out and physical hearings were required in case of search cases and examination of witness, books of accounts were required to be seen, etc. etc. Now, where the SSC would request for a personal hearing, so those exceptions were carved out, but otherwise we were told in August 18 that there will be all e-proceedings, nothing beyond that, and no personal hearing would happen. Now, moving on to the next slide. Then came the scheme, faceless assessment scheme, first time in September 2019. Pursuant to the powers that were given in 143 3A, 3B, and a scheme was notified. August 2020, that name of scheme was renamed from e-assessment scheme to faceless assessment scheme and made applicable even to best judgment assessment. So earlier it was 143.3 and now even it was covered in February 2021. The scheme was further amended. Before that, in September 2020, faceless assessment scheme was legislated in the Act by way of Section 144B, introduced by Taxation and Other Laws, Relaxation and Amendment of Certain Provisions Act 2020. So it's a different thing that this was supposed to be Taxation and Other Laws Amendment Act. But now in this Relaxation and Amendment Act, they introduced new provisions in the Income Tax Act by way of Section 144B, and which actually replaced the entire scheme and how this scheme finds place in the Act. Now, these enabling provisions which were present in 143 3A, 3B, 3C became redundant. So, 144B is now the scheme itself by way of which you will be conducting the faceless assessments. And under 144B, the faceless assessments will kick out from 1st April. Now, income tax authorities and jurisdictions for the purpose of national and regional faceless assessment centers. CBDT also passed pre-order under 119 to say that whatever oral or circular or guidelines were prepared or published with reference to e-assessment schemes 2019, those circulars, guidelines, etc. were applied mutatis mutandis to 144 proceedings, and therefore those circulars still have force of law because of this circular that they have brought in. Now we will see some of the statutory provisions. Moving on to my next slide. As I said, first row here, 1st April 2018, we had these enabling provisions 143 3A, 3B, 3C, which said that the scheme will be announced for the purpose of faceless assessment, and pursuant to that, a scheme was indeed announced on 12th September 2019 as e-assessment scheme, which was later on renamed. This was the purpose of section 143.3 and 144 assessment. Then comes 144B, and 144B will be applicable for assessments made on or after 1st of April 2021. So currently, all the assessments which would be made would be under section 144B. So now 144B assessments are for which purpose? What are the powers of faceless assessments? What procedures would be laid down under section 144B? So it is 143.3 order or ex parte order or best judgment orders. Then 148 orders in certain circumstances. 148 were already issued by jurisdictional assessing officers in the past, and they have also issued 143 orders. It will be taken forward by e-assessment procedures under section 144B. Old 148 were notices, old 148 notices were issued prior to March by jurisdiction assessing officer. He also issued 143.2 notices. Those reassessment will now be taken forward by NES, which is now NFEC, National Faceless E-Assessment Center, and now it is called National Faceless E-Assessment Center under section 144B. Then 148 in case where return has not been furnished and 143.3 has been issued. So the old officer had issued 148, and then he had SSC, and then he found that SSC has not filed return. He has given you 143.2 notice, and if he has given you 143.2 notice, it will be taken forward by NESC. There is also one circumstance which has not come out in this slide where 143.2 notice has been issued. You have not filed your return, that is assessee has not filed, and those assessments will be taken forward, which will ultimately be a 143.3 order. So that is the domain of 144B faceless assessment. So the question arises as to what happens to your 148 under the new regime. 143, which has been laid down in the Finance Act 2021. What happens to your rectification under section 154, 155? What is the procedure for 263, 264? Your revision of orders at the instance of SSC or at the instance of department? Then what happens to the order giving effect to various appellate orders? 250, 244 CIT orders, tribunal orders, etc. Revision orders, and who does that with reference to dispute resolution cell? Now, with reference to all this, have enabling provisions in the Act in the form of 154.1, 157A, 264A, 264B, and 144C. 144, 14B and 14C subsections for dispute resolution. Here we are told that these subsections to give effect from 1st of November 2020. And these sections said that a scheme will be formulated enabling the provisions, giving power to the board to formulate schemes. 148 faceless assessments, 143 appeals order giving effect to the appeals. So faceless, but the scheme are not getting formulated as of now. So in this behalf, these assessments or rather reassessments, rectifications will be continued to be done not in the faceless regime, but in the original regime also. Then we have these appeals 250, 255, 257. So one is CIT appeals and the other is tribunal. CIT appeals kick in on 1st April 2020. Tribunal kicks it on 1st April 2021, but this is only by way of enabling provisions. So as far as CIT appeals is concerned, faceless scheme is always there. It is already in place and it has started from 25th September 2020. And we have all faced that CIT appeals as of now. And so far as ITAT is concerned, which provision kicks in on 1st April 2021. However, there is no scheme formulated for conducting ITAT on faceless cases. With this, let's come to the heart of this, the faceless ecosystem. What is it? How is it to be conducted? Here we have the taxpayer, and here we have what is known as the regional faceless assessment centers, RFAC. And RFSC, we have certain units which are there. Now, there are 4 different units under RFSC. Assessment unit, verification unit, technical units, and review units. And in between these units and taxpayers, here is NFAC, which was earlier National E-Assessment. Now it is NFAC from 1st April 2021 under section 144B. So prior to faceless regime, here was taxpayer and here was the assessing officer, but directly connected to each other, either on a face-to-face basis and thereafter under e-proceeding basis. And the taxpayer knew who the assessing officer was, how he would communicate with the assessing officer in the e-proceedings through the portal or over the email. But now in this faceless regime, the taxpayer sitting here does not know who is the assessment, what is the assessment unit doing, who is doing the assessment, who is the person sitting in the assessment unit, who will be doing my assessments practically, and the communication between the taxpayers and assessing units will be only and only through NFAC, and it cannot be by any other direct communication whatsoever. How this communication is going to happen between the taxpayer and NFAC. Now, see, the communication will be only through the electronic mode. So, it will be through web, emails, and SMS. And there is no contemplation. The section does not contemplate anything other than the electronic mode. In the same manner, communication between the assessment unit, verification unit, technical and review units will also happen to communicate with the NFAC, and NFAC in turn will communicate with the taxpayer and vice versa. Taxpayers will have to communicate to NFAC and NFAC to these people. So this communication between NFAC and the assessment units, etc., will be only and only through the electronic medium. Key highlights of it would be that there will be no human interface, dynamic jurisdiction, in the sense that there will be no one person who will be doing your assessment. There will be a team-based working, and there will be functional specialization because technical units will provide for technical, review units will do certain review procedures, etc. So these assessment units are part of the RFAC, and as of today, we have 30 RFACs spread over 20 cities. And we have 95 assessment units, 35 verification units, 4 technical units, and 20 review units across the country. Since there is no face-to-face intervention, we women can very well sit at the comfort of our home, work in the area by either replying to the emails or just by drafting the reply. Now let us briefly see what is the composition. The composition of these units are like this. Every AU, that is the assessment unit, will have one PCIT, 4 additional or joint CIT, 4 DCs or ACITs, and 20 ITOs. Each verification unit will also have the same composition in the same manner. Each review unit will have one PCIT, 3 additional or joint CSIT, 6 DCs, and 9 ITOs. Each technical unit will also have the same composition. So this is the way the entire income tax staff today is going to be divided. Apart from this, you also have certain residual staff where you have chief commissioners, DCITs, additionals, etc., and the support staff. Those residual staffs are they are also required who are not part of the REACs. They are also required to be there for several other units like ownership and responsibilities of case laws called as administrative issue, etc. So outside REAC, issues also there are going to be as many as 32 CIs outside the REAC also. So this is the composition of the entire tax department. Now we will look into what is the functions of this. Each of the assessment units have the function to make assessments, reassessments, identify issue and seek information and analyze material for making faceless assessment. So that this is essentially your assessing officer. That is, assessment unit is essentially or your AO sitting somewhere you don't know. the verification unit have to conduct by and large inquiry, cross verification, examination of books of account, examination of witnesses, and recording of statements. Conduct physical verification only in instances specified by Principal CCIT NEAC. There may be some instances where your assessment units will say that, no, I want certain things to be physically verified, and that physical things will be done by verification unit who is uh, stationed very near to the relevant assessee. Now, because an SSC cannot travel from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, so you will have to find a verification unit in Kashmir if you are based in Kashmir. So this is essentially the function of verification unit. Here, of course, the examination of books of account is also returned, but that does not mean that the regular book of account will be examined by the verification unit. That will be continued to verify by your assessing unit only. However, if there is some special verification required, then verification unit will be asked to do that. Then there is a review unit and there is a technical unit. Technical unit is supposed to be knowledge bank, and it is going to assess the assessment unit in respect of legal matters, forensic matters, IT matters, transfer pricing, data analytics, management, and other technical matters. So that is the job of technical. Review unit is where the assessment unit has passed an order, but there is a need to review that order, and because NESC will look first into the order just to understand that the review unit will have the job of review of the assessment order by officer A. Then we have officer B who will sit for review. Not in all cases, but in cases where NESC feels that there is a need for review, and that review unit will review draft assessment order, whether relevant and material evidence brought on record, whether relevant point of fact and law incorporated, whether issues on addition disallowance made are discussed, whether the submissions and arguments of the assessee have been duly considered and rebutted, whether application of judicial decisions considered, whether arithmetically correct. These are the broad functions of this unit, and I may also say that at this point, that whenever there is a need for assessment unit to do review, it will go through NEAC. Assessment unit cannot directly contact anyone in the review unit. Again, the assessment unit wants to go to verification units will have to travel through NEAC. Assessment unit wants some technical inputs, it will travel through NEAC. There is no direct linkage between two officers of the department from one unit to the other also. They will all be through the central pool, that is NEAC, and now of course NFAC. For work from home, drafting will help you start your practice on CA profession. You can draft the documents sitting at home and submit it. Once you are thorough with drafting, it will really help you to come back in the profession. It is very important in the faceless regime because drafting is not only important for income tax but also for other laws. Faceless assessment has saved time in going to offices, departments, and waiting lines and queues. We all have witnessed this in the past. However, equivalent time also we must spend in drafting because it will not come in first time. First, we need to understand that no person will get any draft ready or finalized in the first take. The purpose of first draft is not to get it right, but to get it returned, which is very important, and the entire essence is based on that. Drafting is important in faceless environment. Why? Because there is no human touch involved. The power of pursuance is lost. There is some availability of video conferencing available, but that would be rarely available. Whatever we need to tell the department would be only through the black and white paper. And so drafting is important. These are principles which we need to keep in mind while drafting. These are the ones which are always most of the time ignored. Now, first is language should be focused on. Best drafting is not best because it has legal jargons, but it should be understandable. It should be so easily drafted that it is understandable. It is a myth that legal drafting is only done by advocates or solicitors. It can be done by anyone. It just requires lot of practice, and we do often and become best. But more simple, the document should be more understandable. The document will be, and better it will be perceived. So to put it simple is like, more understandable the document, the better your point will be perceived. We should write to express and not to impress. We should keep this in mind while drafting. Drafting means keeping across your point and not impressing the person you are writing to. The next point is ability to communicate analysis of complex legal issues. Now, some things are there you cannot explain. Some things we just need to say it face to face. Over the time, we need to accept that faceless regime is to be the future and drafting is important. So we have to develop our skills and adapt to technology. Earlier we get the realization, earlier it is better. You need to put the point in time in a very lucid manner. You can segregate your point, bifurcate your sentence, create flow charts. You can be as creative as you can. You can also create simple pointers and justify each and every small points or paragraphs. Lot of creativity goes in drafting, not being fancy but simple. Do not show matter to assessing officer as complex. One thing in faceless we need to take care is that the only thing that has changed is the manner in which assessment is done. That is the only thing that has changed. People who are reviewing this, or assessing officer or ACIT, they have not changed. Their skills have not changed. Yes, their technological skills have changed, obviously, but they have been trained for technology side. Their analytical thinking, tax knowledge remains the same. So just you are doing submission online. Do not make things complex. Just cut the complexity and try to make it as simple as possible. Drafting main focus should be it is from whose perspective, what is the punctuation that you have used, the use of punctuation and the proper grammar. More important is reader's perspective and not the writer's perspective. Mostly in any drafting, what I have observed is that there is lot of repetition. For example, if there is disallowance in section 14A, what I see that no expenditure is made for exempt income. They try to say that in different language, different paragraphs and different points to show that this disallowance should not be made, but this disallowance should be made. I think this is always missing in the submissions which are made. And reason behind it is when you go behind writer's perspective, you say this should be made to me without reason. And so idea behind it is don't see the writer's perspective because it becomes very biased and reasoning becomes less. Why should it be allowed and why should it not be allowed? I think reader's perspective is most important. If you give the assessing officer what he is looking for, then he will be more acceptable to the submission that you have made, and he will take decision in your favor if possible. When I say reader's perspective, I don't mean to say accept the assessing officer's perspective or accept the show cause notice. Here I mean to say that you write all the facts of the case. You write everything, whatever assessing officer needs to know. Write all the circulars, notifications. Even they are against you because assessing officer is going to find out these circulars or notifications in later stage as we have review unit, technical unit under NFAC. So they are anyways going to find out. So let us try to find out these things and try to differentiate from other things. Idea is to give entire document in ready platter so as to make the best decision. So we have to keep a reader in mind so to enable why he should allow or disallow expenditures. These things have to be kept in mind while drafting. Use of short sentence and basic grammar skills. Now, unfortunately, grammar is always ignored by most chartered accountants. They are technically very sound in law, very much sound in laws. No idea, but their grammar is very important. Having good legal submission, not every time required, but good grammatical submission is always important. How we can avoid grammatical errors is by breaking up the submission in smaller ones. Somewhere it is seen that there are long sentences running into 2, 3 lines without punctuation marks, comma, etc. Now, absence of comma or full stop creates hell lot of confusion. Although it is neglected part. Mostly formatting is done at the end. People don't matter to do it, but it is of utmost important. Grammar is equally important because I have observed one thing, and that is what even I do. If a person is not able to differentiate between there, THERE, and there, THEIR, people will judge you. That is, I think, what we know. That thought perspective gets created. Now that thought perspective gets created in other person's mind, that what kind of submission is made, he must have created, what is this that he's trying to say. So that preconceived notion gets into mind when your grammar skills are not up to date. Try to make it as simple, as short as possible. You can have 5 sentences in one paragraph rather than one long paragraph. Sorry, you can have 5 sentences in one paragraph rather than one long sentence that ends up in one page. Uh, Try to have that included, and grammar skills, short sentences, that is all important, which you will come to know at the end when you read your entire drafting towards the end. So try to correct all towards the end and not at the start. Now, use the correct tone. Tone refers to when you speak. So, tone means here that the way we write kind of depicts the personality of the person writing. So, writing based on the words depict whether you are aggressive or a balanced writer, or you are someone who knows the topic well, and that you should come out from the submissions that you are making. I always feel there should be balance of tone, not too aggressive and not too weak or timid or acceptable that a person will not be even convinced from what you are writing. So, writing one sentence that I have made all submissions, and sharing why this disallowance should not be made. But you cannot write that assessing officer cannot understand anything. I have seen people writing this. You can say that assessing officer has not applied his mind while making these legal assumptions, but you cannot write that assessing officer does not make any sense. Writing such thing targets person and leaves bad impression. So try to make that perspective correct when you are making the submission. Make a balanced tone. In short, not firm and not aggressive. Try not to use any derogatory remarks while making submission. Like say completely incorrect, no use of mind, etc. Appreciate the facts of case. This will make a lot of difference. When you are writing to a person and when you are criticizing the same person, criticism will not go well. No one takes criticism right, so try to avoid. So try to have a balanced tone, not weak, that people will take you lightly. So language should be very, very much proper. There is a question, is there standard format of drafting? Does chat GPT is a good way to draft it? Yes, these days many people do make use of chat GPT while drafting, but there is no proper format as such. It all depends on the issues of the case and the order that has been issued. Now, now, one sec. Moving on to the next slide. Now, coming to the process of writing. This is very important for any submissions, whether assessment or faceless submissions, because we are mandatory in faceless appeals. Now, there was this writer who wrote an article. The author's name was Betty Flowers, who wrote this theory called madman, architect, carpenter, and judge theory. Now, this is very interesting theory. Then you would think, what is this and how it affects the process of writing? So let me explain this to you. I'll just have a sip of water. So this is a very interesting theory which I would like to highlight on. This theory says, okay, so this is a little bit important concept, and I have found this on legal drafting. This theory says that there is always a tug of war between a madman and judge. Now, who are these people? These people that he has referred to in theory are personified personified examples of the same person who is writing or who is writing the draft. When we draft, we have different mindsets. So it is the same person who is personified in these four mindsets. So madman is a person who wants to add freely everything, who wants to write everything. Sometimes we see that we have done everything correct, but then too the assessing officer is issuing a show cause notice that why this disallowance should not be made, and you get angry that you know I have been good citizen, assessee is a good citizen, we have given everything, then why this assessing officer is keeps on writing. I have seen in many cases that during assessment, the reasons we received draft orders from the officer even after giving proper submissions, reproducing all our submissions and adding one line that this submission is not acceptable, and also making additions, seeing that kind of assessment order, you get aggressive that how assessing officer has termed your submission incorrect. That is called the madman, where you want to pull all your thoughts together when it comes to judge. Judge is the person that is you and your own critical self who wants to edit everything and feels that there is no need to write so much. When I was talking about tone in the earlier slide, it is that many times when we write, we now don't physically write, we type on a computer. So we type something, delete again, write, and we keep on doing this. Why does this happen? Why can't we write in one flow? It is because the madman and the judge within us are working together. And that is tug of war that theory is talking about. That is the dispute in mind. As we have this mindset of writing everything and then correcting everything, that is good. But both should not work at the same time. There should be departure. So we should have a interpost between the characters, that is architect versus carpenter. So this is an intact gist of process of writing. So when you take a pen and start drafting, you are a madman. When you put in all your thoughts into a piece of paper and you write all that you should be giving to assessing officer, after that comes the role of architect. Architect is the mindset who plans the entire submissions. So after putting everything in one place, do not delete everything. Even if you feel like, no, this point is not something I want, or this will go against me, then to do not delete it. Keep everything in one place and try to have a good flow as to how are you going to keep it, because we write what thoughts come to our mind and we do not think logically or plan how do we think. So we just have to put everything in a piece of paper and then plan it. That this should come first, as this is a better argument. This should come last. This would be an alternate argument, etc. So that way, try to be an architect and plan out the entire flow. The entire flow of your legal drafting is very essential. If you write very good, but if your flow is not very good, it does not make any sense to the reader. See, when you are reading many fiction books, why is it that a reader is more glued to fiction than a non-fiction book? Because it is the story that makes the reader more glued. As they lay out the story in such a way that you are a part of the story. So you have to write your submissions in such a flow that the flow of thoughts keep you engaged. The flow of thought should not be diverted. So you can start, like, for example, if you are making a submission for that expense that is not personal, and they should be allowed. So you can't start writing that expenses are not allowed and then mention the facts. You will have to mention the facts first, and then you have to mention the facts, and then you will have to mention the facts first, and then you will have to mention how is it allowed, what are the expenses, what are the supporting vouchers, and towards the end you can conclude. Many times people start by concluding that this expenditure should be allowed and then write facts. Then they will be writing 5 to 6 lines on that facts. This should never be done. This means you are making judgment at the first paragraph itself. So try to have that thing towards the end. What I meant to say is that plan out the main architect of your drafting. Third position is the third position is the carpenter that is drafting everything minutely. Now you have put everything minutely on paper. Job of carpenter is very specific. If you say it has to be square, then it has to cut it into square. So you have to have that clarity and see everything that is made out, cut out properly, no repetition. Drafting should make sense. That is what you will have to do. You will have to carve out everything perfectly. And the last thing is the judge, which is very important. That is, you will have to critically see your own writing, and this that is the correct tone of argument will be correct. Is this the argument that will go against me? There are many times we give lot of details, and then we feel it is not needed, and this may go against us. Practically, this has happened in lot of cases. Especially, I have faced this, that when SSC has given so many details, using the same details against the SSC, previous cases have been reopened. So we are like, we are giving them an X to put us in judge's chair and critically edit your submissions. Do the process of writing. So this is the in-depth process that we should go. It looks very difficult when I speak about it, but it's very natural. When I write about it, it is very natural, and it will come gradually when you make an effective trial to come to you. When you admit that I have to do this way, it will automatically come to you. So try to do this way, and it will reduce your drafting time, and it will make your drafting effective. So now coming to the entire process of it, as I mentioned, you have to prepare an outline. The outline should be made always in any legal drafting. The facts should be first. It has to be chronological ordered. Facts are very crucial, even if it is not related to your case sometimes. So many times we write that the return of income was filed on so and so date, and this is the total income that was there. It may be a limited scrutiny case or specific about the case, but mentioning the fact is very important. The basic facts like whether the assessee is senior or non-resident, or whether the assessee is an authorized representative for another assessee, or is the assessee legal heir, etc. These are very minute details which we need to put in facts. Sometimes there are many dates. Like, I am always persuasive of telling people that please do not skip dates. Many times, in case of search and seizure, reopening matters, 263 revision matters, dates are very important. So notice received on so and so date, uh, and so dated, etc., have to be mentioned. Date is very important as facts. Try to mention dates very well. The cardinal principle is research well. Unfortunately, this is the phase where we have to redevelop our skills, and in the past, I have done to save time. I mean, we go to so many different IT offices as we don't have time. So what we do is we copy paste the standard submission, and then towards the end make our conclusions and submit. Please do not do that. This has many hazardous repercussions if something really goes wrong. You never know when they will pass the order. So never copy paste. Second law is evolving so fast that sometimes if you copy paste, and I would like to mention this incident and a very hilarious. We had this article in office who used to copy paste and make submissions, and they copy pasted from some provision, and you know which was submission which was 3 to 4 years older, and made the entire working and submission. And after seeing the submission, I realized that the section that was modified, and that was not in the favor of assessee, and that is that submission was not required. But imagine if this kind of submission is made and not vetted through, then you plant ideas in AO's mind if you write it wrong. And so in this case, try to research well, even if it is a case that you have done multiple number of times. Many times we feel there are certain sections like bogus purchases or section 37 or section 14A disallowances, which keep on coming in front of us again and again. And you know these sections very well. But in case of various cases, facts are different. Just because you know some theory, you don't have to go in intricacy. Never do that. So research well when you are writing something. This is something which is very practical, which I always do while drafting. I'm still a old school when it comes to drafting. I jot down points on pen and paper. I write all the point that comes to my mind while forming submissions. So you'll have to jot down points wherever you want to jot. Try to bring it down and then elaborate. This is because it happens that we have many things in mind. And then while jotting half away, we realize that we have forgotten the points which we had in mind. Think it happens. It happens a lot of time, especially when we write our CA papers. We have to so jot it down, all the points that we have in mind, whether you want to pursue it or not. Just jot it down and try to elaborate it further. Now, last 2 points are very important. This is something which many advocates are and experienced chartered accountants are doing. They do not reread their submissions and they do not edit. Editing is an art and it has to be developed. The way we tell students that after writing entire answer paper, please reread the entire answer paper, the same way we also need to do. Because when we are writing, we do not know what are we writing. But when we read from the reader's perspective, and that is where we start editing. Sometimes you feel that you have written same point twice, like a long submission of 10 to 15 pages. Then it may happen that same point has been repeated. Try to read and edit so you remove spell errors and grammatical errors. Please read it even if you are getting late. Many times you feel it is a well written document, but when you read, you find that the document is not making any sense. So please reread and ensure that editing is done. Even a layman should be able to understand what you have written. In Now when we refer to drafting, It might relate to preparing documents, forms, responses, or notices that are part of the faceless process. Tax officers or taxpayers would draft their responses or submissions electronically, ensuring that all the necessary information is accurately submitted through the official channels without physical interaction. In summary, drafting faceless assessment in income tax refers to preparation and submission of necessary documents, responses, and assessments as part of the faceless assessment process, all of which are done digitally without direct contact between the taxpayer and the tax officer. Now, in a faceless assessment process for income tax, there are several critical points to take care of to ensure a smooth and successful experience. Now, since this system removes personal interactions and relies heavily on digital communication, it is important to be meticulous and proactive. So ensure that all your documents that you submit are complete, accurate, and up to date. So common documents will be income tax returns, financial statements, tax computations, tax payment receipts, supporting documents for deductions like your ATC, ATD claims, etc. Now, since everything is done electronically, missing or incorrect documents can rely the assessment or lead to errors. In the faceless system, all notices and communications will be sent electronically. So make sure that you regularly check the portal for updates. Acknowledge the notice immediately and respond within the given time frame. Ignoring or delaying responses can lead to penalties or adverse decisions. Now, if additional information is requested by the IT department, provide accurate and clear responses promptly. Now, since there is no direct communication, there is no direct, I would say, interaction between assessing officer and the assessee. All your communication should be through the e-filing portal or other official online channels. Use proper channels for communication, such as uploading documents on the portal or responding to the notices received. One very important thing that you should keep in mind is always keep a copy of your submission and responses for your own record. Now, since faceless assessments aim to remove bias, you may not know, as I have said it in my earlier slide also, you will not be aware that who is the specific officer who is reviewing your case. So it is very important that all your details remain accurate and confidential. Do not share sensitive information, that is your login credentials or personal data, with anyone outside official channels to prevent security breach. Make sure that your income tax return is filed accurately and on time. If there are discrepancies or mismatches in your tax filing, they may be flagged during the faceless assessment. Ensure that you have disclosed all your Ensure that you have disclosed all your sources of income, claimed eligible deductions, and reported all relevant financial details. Now, once your case is processed, you will receive a faceless assessment order. So ensure that you review your order very carefully. If you disagree with the assessment order or you find any discrepancies, you can file an appeal through the same faceless system. Follow the online procedure carefully to avoid any mistakes. Ensure all your taxes are paid on time, including advance tax or self-assessment tax. Any non-payment or late payment can lead to penalties, that which we are all aware of, and the interest that is being levied. But that will overall affect your tax liability and the outcome of the assessment. See, if your case is selected for detailed scrutiny, then you will have to be prepared with all the supporting documents that can justify your income, your expenses, deductions, etc. Faceless assessments may involve a deeper review of your financials. So be organized and ready to submit clarifications if needed. Now, deadlines are very crucial in faceless assessments. Make sure that all the responses, documents, and appeals are submitted within the time limits. Missing deadlines can really land us in a big trouble because of the non-compliance notice, penalties, reassessments, etc. So familiarize yourself with the income tax e-filing portal very accurately and its features. Make use of the online help resources provided by the IT department if you are unsure about the process. You can also take advantage of tools like your online calculators to streamline your filings. If you're not confident in handling the faceless assessment process, then it is advisable to seek professional help who can guide you in drafting appropriate responses, submitting the right documents, and handling scrutiny or appeals very effectively. The faceless assessment system and the income tax regulations, you have to be, they evolve very regularly. So you have to stay updated on any change in law, process, or new notifications from the income tax department. Follow updates on the official income tax department website or subscribe to alerts for the latest information. So this basically, I would say that this faceless assessment system, although it brings transparency and efficiency to the income tax process, but it requires taxpayers to be diligent and proactive in managing the filings and responses. Ensure that you are organized, timely, and thorough in your approach to avoid any delays or issues with your tax assessments. The faceless assessment, it has brought numerous advantages to both taxpayers and the IT department. This system, which eliminates face-to-face interactions between taxpayers and tax officers, aims to make the entire process more transparent, efficient, and fair. Now see, with faceless assessment, there is no direct interaction between the taxpayer and the officer. So it minimizes biases and corruption. Cases are assigned to officers randomly through the system. reducing the potential for biased or preferential treatment. Now, since all our communications and actions are digital, taxpayers have clear visibility in the status of your submissions or orders, etc. Now, what are the documents that are to be submitted? The taxpayer is very clear on that. The centralized and digitized nature of the system ensures that the process is transparent with no room for manipulation. This system streamlines the process by using automated case allocation and digital communication, reducing the time required for case processing. There is no need to physically visit, so that is saving our time. So our time should be mostly spent on drafting. It should be very, very clear. This automation has led to very quicker resolutions, as taxpayers now don't have to wait for appointments or physical hearings. Automatic notifications are being sent regarding your assessment status, demands, or any clarifications required. So you have to be on go with the website. Taxpayers can interact with IT department online, and that too 24/7, allowing us to submit our documents, respond to notices, and check status updates at our convenience. So here we women chartered accountants play a very vital role, as we can balance our work as well as our home. We don't have any geographical barriers. Taxpayers are now no longer needed to visit the local offices. So here also we play a very important role, where we can, put out our submissions. We can work out at ease of our home, balancing our family also. Department also saves resources by not needing to maintain large physical infrastructures, and they can also focus on enhancing digital tools. Now, this faceless assessment has reduced the unnecessary harassment or subjective treatment of taxpayers by officers. Since interactions are online, system is likely to be impartial, and it eliminates opportunities for unethical practices, such as the demand for bribes or say other form of exploitation. This system extends to the appeal process as well. So we can file our appeals and track the progress through the same digital platform. We are more consistent and uniform, so the mistakes in assessment or communication are minimized. Now, this has strengthened the e-governance framework in the country and helps us create a more tax-savvy tax system. So now, since our paperwork is reduced, the physical storage has been reduced. So whatever submissions are there are online. So I would suggest that we should have copies of submissions that we have made, which I have already highlighted. But once again, I would like to highlight. So in brief, I would like to say that the uniformity and fairness in assessment has improved the public's trust in the tax system, potentially leading to better tax compliance. And the faceless assessment system in income tax offers substantial benefits to both taxpayers and the IT department, and it has promoted transparency and efficiency. The jurisdiction hierarchy will now have 32 principal chief commissioners, which I have already highlighted. and the 96 principal commissioners, 252 ranges, and 261 ACs, and 1274 ITOs. Uh, so uh, so I was like so when when your case is selected through say system or so now so one thing that I would like to highlight is in the current assessment and the faceless assessment scheme, some differences which I would like to clarify that when your case is selected through system, manual, and tax evasion information, there would be no discretion to any officer, no selection except through system red alerts, and there would be no selection other than officer based. So when you are drafting, you have to be very so one point I would be specifying again and again that you have to be on go on your submissions. Just a second. So the National E-Assessment Center, it will serve a notice on the assessee under Section 143(2) of the IT Act, specifying the issues for selection of his case for scrutiny assessment. Now, the assessee is required to file his response to the National E-Assessment Center within 15 days from the date of receipt of such notice or as specified. The National E-Assessment Center shall intimate the assessee that assessment in his case shall be completed under this scheme, where he has furnished his return or income under Section 139 or in response to notice issued under Section 142(1) or under Section 148(1), and a notice has been issued for scrutiny assessment. So, when such allocation of the case is made randomly by the system using artificial intelligence and machine learning, an assessment unit may request National E-Assessment Center to obtain documents, evidence. Now, these documents or evidence that have been obtained will conduct certain inquiry or verification by the verification unit, which I have already specified, and seek technical assistance from the technical unit. I'll just have a water. Before we move ahead, there are certain questions that have come up. So can we take that? So one question is, despite the faceless assessment proceedings, if the officer tries to get in touch, what should be our approach? So if an income tax officer tries to get in touch with you despite the faceless assessment scheme, you will have to follow the steps to ensure that compliance and handle the situation appropriately. So you will have to first verify the legitimacy of the officer's context. So under the faceless assessment scheme, see, it happens that all communication occurs through the official income tax e-filing portal or through notices sent to your registered email ID. So make sure the contact details are legitimate. Do not respond to calls or messages from unofficial phone numbers or emails that do not match your official government source. So if you receive any communication, verify the notice number or reference code number mentioned and cross-check it on the e-filing portal to confirm its authenticity. In case the officer contacts you via phone or email, do not share any personal, financial, or tax related information unless you are certain of the officer's identity and legitimacy of the communication. Avoid sharing sensitive information like Aadhaar, PAN, bank details, etc. First, first, you will have to check out the official income tax filing portal. As I said, that all the notices are being uploaded on the income tax portal, and check for any notices or request for further information related to your case. The faceless assessment system will usually communicate with you through the portal only. So if you see any request or notices relating to the assessment, respond directly on the portal and submit the necessary documents electronically. Now, if necessary, you can also escalate your issue by you say the grievance. You can use the contact details available on the official website of the income tax department and the grievance through the e-filing portal. And if you feel that there is an attempt to bypass the faceless system, and if the officer insists on meeting in person or engaging outside the online system, you can politely request written communication or official instructions to the income tax e-filing portal. And under this faceless assessment system, personal interaction with the officer should not be required. And all the communication should be documented. Now, after verifying the communication, check whether any notices or orders that require your attention. Now, this should be formal notice issued through e-filing portal or sent to your registered email. And by following some certain these steps, you can avoid scams and maintain transparency in your assessment proceedings. Now moving on to the next question we have. I have submitted CIT appeal form online on 18th October 24, but not received anything about it. So, Bhagyashri, appeal should be filed in 30 days from service of notice. And in case of order under section 248, date of payment of tax, CIT appeal may condone the delay in filing appeal. So if he is satisfied that there is a sufficient cause to not to file appeal by the appellant within stipulated time. So I think I think it is lapsed. Uh, Next question is, despite several reminders and grievances, the appeals have been pending under the faceless assessment procedure for more than 3 to 4 years. How can such cases be effectively followed up? You can find or follow up with the ward or assessing officer. So he may support you. After writing to the NFSC, they typically send a standard response stating that the case has been transferred to the concerned department. However, no actual progress is reflected on the portal. What steps can be taken to ensure further action? So Rupali, in this case, you will have to wait till still official progress is been notified on the portal, because everything, as I said time and again, that everything happens through the income tax filing e-portal, and you will have to be very alert on what are the notices and etc. Whatever further actions that they are uploading, you will have to be updated on the same. Kamachi Devi madam is asking, what is your option about relief disallowance notice? What is your option about relief disallowance notice? Sorry. So, ma'am, with respect to relief disallowance notice, I would say that as such, they have not mentioned anything, but you can, what to say? Okay, I'll answer this in a while. But before we come to an end, some few points I would like to still bring to your notice, that while drafting, when you reply to some notices and questionnaires, start by stating all undisputed facts of the case. Reply to each question of the notices sequentially and put forth your arguments for each and every issue raised by the assessing officer. Correlate your contentions with the documents filed, and if necessary, you can also seek adjournment wherever required. You will have to revert to each and every notice issued. You cannot ignore a particular notice. So please take care that you revert to each and every notice issued, and you will have to read all the notices very carefully, especially the time barring notices matters. Where there are time barring matters or say notices, you will have to be very careful. All the submissions, as I said, should be dated. It should mention the basic details of your client, like the PAN, assessment year, and it should also mention specifically against which notice the assessee is responding. If attachments are made with the written submissions, please mention the page number and annexure number in the written submission. Cross-referencing is very much essential. Always maintain continuity by making reference to the last letter or hearing. Support your arguments by quoting relevant case laws only if absolutely required. Now, replies should be exhaustive and elaborate. Do not hide any relevant facts. Be consistent in your submissions. This is the first submission, and one needs to be very careful in the facts reproduced by assessing officer. Avoid repetition. Collect all the necessary documents, evidences, etc. Now, wherever necessary, I would suggest you request for a cross examination of the third party data that you have used. You can also request for 133(6) when data cannot be obtained from third parties. Mention the history of the assessee if relevant to the case. Don't depart from the logic. Please do not make submissions without prejudice wherever required. Refer to the acts and regulations as the case may be. And if the matter is very complicated, I would suggest you can also ask for physical hearing if if you feel that that would help you your client much. The three most important thing while you make submission: facts, facts, and only facts. As I said earlier, long written submissions and notes should be page numbered. All the submissions should be written on covering letter, which should be dated, signed, stamped. And wherever necessary, the list of details annexed should be in the covering letter. Rule 14 of the income tax rules has to be specified. Now, in cases of limited scrutiny, only respond to the specific and relevant queries pertaining to the subject matter. Refuse in writing to submit details beyond scope. Verifications and fundamental factual details or declaration better be taken on the letterhead of the SSC. Some tips I would like to give to you before we close the session, that all the data when you are submitting, it should be backed up, saved sequentially, name the folders and attachments properly, maintain all the screenshots of technical confusions and uncertainties. Whatever you are submitting in return, please ensure that you save it in a certain folder so that later on you don't get into trouble. Avoid delaying in the submissions, because delay in submissions are a red flag. Avoid making submissions through mobiles or applications of the scheme. Try to submit details from single system or a fixed place of office. Make use of grievance portal and other communication contacts. Check the digital signature of the assessing officer, date, and other particulars in all notices. When system error in ITBA, that is your income tax application portal, always email the AO about the technical issues. Never submit attachments without a forwarding letter or a written note. Use the authorized representative feature wherever essential. Maintain a list of documents submitted during the assessment in office file once the assessment is over. And keep on taking backups regularly of your systems. Keep clients informed about checking their emails and messages, because as I have said, whatever notices you will receive will be through your income tax department portal, which you will be notified through emails and SMSs. Now, so while you make submissions, you will be scanning all your documents. So some tips for scanning which I would like to give: scanning should be clear, at least 300 dpi. The format of attachment should be always PDF, so save files with that extension. If files are truncated, please see that it's legible before attaching. Scan original documents and not the photocopies, because when you scan the photocopies, it won't be having a clear vision. So please scan the original documents. The documents should be password protected. If the documents are of various sizes, see that some data is not missed while scanning, while scanning a legal paper, sometimes it is seen that some letters are not legible. So please ensure that they are done it in a proper manner. If there are many documents that can sequentially scan and number documents, so please make it one attachment. So you can scan all the pages differently and make it into a single document. So later on, this will help you while referring to the case or your submissions. So every document should be named and numbered. If not numerical, then at least annexure wise. Ensure you send correct attachments against description stated as difficult to redo the submission. So, as I have already said, poor drafting may result in a good case being lost. So, always comply to the uh, proper drafting. Sequence your arguments from best to less weighted. Perfect balance of writing should be firm, but at the same time, not very abusive. Involvement with the case is inevitable, but involvement with the client is not desirable. When you realize a mistake, take immediate steps to rectify it. Always comply to the committed dates, please. That is very important. Now, when you draft, the principal law laid down by Supreme Court or High Court in any case will be applicable to the issue. So we will be following the doctrine of precedents. So, uh, a judgment of the Supreme Court will be binding on all the authorities. So, in case of two contrary decisions by the Supreme Court, the judgment of a larger bench is binding. And in absence of any decision by Supreme Court, the judgment of jurisdictional High Court would be binding. This would be helpful to you by mentioning the case laws on which you are relying your case. So, in absence of any decision by the Supreme Court, we would be referring to the High Court cases. And in absence of any High Court, Supreme Court and jurisdictional High Court cases, uh, or we can have the decisions rendered by the high court or any other state would also be binding only if there are no contrary decisions by the high court or any other states. And before you refer a judgment, please see to it that you have read the judgment full. The judgment is in favor or against, that ratio should be carved down relevantly. Avoid cherry picking of words and sentences. Please use search engines only to locate the judgments and not for the analysis. Understand the facts, issues involved, and the law laid down in the judgment before handing over the same to any authority. Uh, and I think I am through with this. As one thing I would like to say that the basics I have tried to cover. So with this knowledge, I am pretty sure that we today women can sit at the comfort of our home and then manage our office as well as house due to this introduction of faceless regime. Um, Thank you for all patient hearing. Now, I had left one question midway by Rupali ma'am, by Kamakshi Devi ma'am, that what is your option about relief disallowance notice? So, relief options are like you can file your appeal, ma'am, and then you can, rectify. If your disallowance is due to a mistake or error, you can request rectification of the mistake and reassessment of your tax return. You can, additional evidence or documentation that supports your original claim. You can also submit that for reconsideration. But, some precautions that here also you will have to take care is that ensure you respond to the disallowance notice within the stipulated time and within to avoid any further complications. And you can also navigate the relief options. Yes, one more thing is that Section 273A of the Income Tax Act provides relief from penalties. So you can also request a waiver of interest and penalty citing reasonable cause or genuine hardships if you want. Next question is, a client is an Indian resident which the global income a client is an Indian resident with the global income, is taxation in such a case, we claim relief for the income that we paid tax in us. For example, I am facing many notice due to disallowance of relief 90. So what is your opinion about it and what are the suggestions? Um, so yes, you can refer to the DTAA of in of both the countries, and accordingly you can resolve your issue. So that's it. Thank you so much for your patience here.
Thank you, Ashita. It was very nice webinar, I can say. And you had pointed out many small things in this. And there were questions also on this, and you had replied that too. So now I request Neha, please, for formally vote of thanks to Ashita, today's speaker. Yeah, over to Neha.
Hello, everybody. I, C. Neha Kawad, would like to take the opportunity to thank our dynamic speaker today, C. Ashita Shah, to enlighten us with such incredible knowledge in depth of faceless assessment. Barry Goldwater once rightly said that income tax created more criminals than any other single act of government. इनकम टैक्स बचाने में और इनकम टैक्स ऑफिसर्स को मनाने में हम जाने अनजाने में इनोसेंट क्रिमिनल्स बन जाते हैं. Today, our esteemed speaker, C. Ashita Shah, has enriched us with the new generation faceless assessment, where the assessee will not be identified to us, but the entire system depends on how we electronically draft the reply and adapt ourselves with the new system. आज का सेशन अटेंड करने के बाद हमें की टेकअवेज मिले हैं that what common errors can be avoided when we draft our reply. How should we draft it? What appropriate grammar should we use? The language usage and the perspective with which reply should be prepared and edited. That was truly amazing, Ms. Ashita, that you guided us in depth. This new system will be a lifesaver for tax practitioners and an opportunity for women to return to work with the ease of drafting replies and managing work from home as well, while also beneficial to crores of taxpayers of India. This new ecosystem will be a game changer in the history of Indian taxation, embracing the digital technology first vision of our nation towards being a Viksit Bharat. So on this note, on behalf of the entire WOW team and WIRC, I, C. Neha Kawar, take this privilege to thank C. Ashita Shah for taking out her valuable time and empowering us with this remarkable session. Thank you so much, C. Ashita. Thank you so much, CA Pinky Kedia and CA Veenal Kothari, for managing and for your time and support.
Thank you, Neha, to you too, to come out with your time and do the coordinator work and accept the coordinator work. And thanks again, Asita and Vinal, for your time and for your contribution. So we will meet again in our next WOW series. तब तक के लिए goodbye.
Bye. Bye. Thank you,
Bye
everyone.
bye.